Hello, welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls, and with me as always is Tate Mathews. Unfortunately, Tate, you're by yourself today. You don't have any of our special analysts with us from last week's show, the Halloween playoff preview show, but a lot of actions happened since last week. Let's start right here in cross country. This past weekend, the TWSAA State Championship was held on the AAA level. Let's talk about the Brentwood boys for just a second. What they pulled off, Tate, I don't know if I can do it justice, but I'm going to try. Brentwood boys win with a point total of 29. Like you, the second place would be 132 if this was golf scores. The lowest is the better. 29 points, second place was 132. This is a course record of all-time state record. BHS runners broke the steeplechase course record as an average of 1546. Average of 1546. Brody Hasty broke the course record, second year in a row, winning the individual state championship at 1509, and Taylor Vroon, 1510. I mean, they're neck and neck all the way. The third guy, get this, the third guy that was with them at the 2-mile marker was nowhere to be seen. He still hasn't finished the race. And this is no joke. He fell out. They were a 3-man race at the 2-mile mark, and he never finished. They gassed him out completely.
Wore him out.
Completely. BHS boys went first, second, fifth, sixth, and 15th.
That's called a dominating performance right there.
I mean,
and the amazing thing, it's been like that now for 2 years, but Taylor Vroon can literally beat anybody in the state, probably the Southeast, except for the guy right there with him. And 1 second apart, I got to think that's pretty close finish, right? Cross country.
Absolutely. I mean, he's right on his heels. 1 second. Yeah. I mean, come on. But I mean, you got to think about this. You get a point total value based on the place that you finish. They came out with 29 points.
Yeah, wasn't even close.
The next one was 103 points behind them. Get this. The top 4 place getters, first, second, fifth, and sixth for Brentwood, beat the first 2 place getters for the second place team in the state championship, in the AAA state championship. I hope people understand that this is domination. You go to domination, you start thinking about Independent's 26-game winning streak and all the things that they've been doing. I'm not sure that winning streak can compare.
If the Tennessean had a large school cross-country top 10, where do you think Brentwood would be ranked?
Well, they'd be ranked second behind somebody other than them. But they'd have a hard-pressed time of not putting these kids on their list.
Make sure Taylor's brother Jackson is either 5th or 6th in there too.
That's correct.
Both of them going to Belmont.
Belmont guys.
I'm a big
Coach Vroon.
Congratulations, Coach Vroon.
Aqua Bruins. I mean, hey, listen.
Aqua Bruins. Wildwood Gators.
Wildwood Gators. It goes all the way down. Lipscomb Elementary PE.
That's right.
The Vroon name goes deep. But congratulations to the Brentwood boys placing first. Independence boys 11th at 324 points, and Franklin 19th. Ravenwood girls. We didn't come out with 1. We came out with 2. Ravenwood girls won the AAA Girls State Championship. Annika Sleenhoff, who is a junior, also finished second overall. This is her second year to do so. She's got 1 more year at this. I think she'll get over the hump next year and win this thing. Addie Coggins, a Wilco recipient, 4th for Indy, as the Ravenwood girls win it in the AAA level. Brentwood girls finished 4th, and Independence girls finished 9th. Page boys, Colin Lamb, Wilco recipient, been in Wilco's last 2 years, also a WCS Sports Conference intern. He finished 6th. It wasn't his greatest day, but the Page boys had a chance to win the AA when Knox Catholic was the overall favorite. The Tennessean definitely would have had them number 1. Page comes in and gets beat 81-80. And it came down literally to the last runner going across there, and maybe a second difference of winning the AA state championship.
Yep.
So we came out pretty good. Now, I don't want to say I said that Colin Lamb came out 6th. Now, get this. Diego Zhuezhue of Nolensville, 5th place. The Nolensville Knights had a good showing. The Lady Knights finished 11th overall. Freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah, I would say that's a sign of, and I don't know if you mentioned, the boys finished 10th, so sign of things to come in all sports for Nolensville, especially the next 2 years. In this next classification, they'll be lower in the classification. They won't be up there in AAA, I wouldn't think, right? That's not good. They'll be winning. They'll be bringing home trophies pretty quickly.
The storm is brewing. In the local media, you might as well go and put them on your list right now. I mean, you've already put some people that are below 500. They never even played an official game. They're 0-1 against South Gibson. Just the sports right now.
But I did hear they're the number 1 they finished the season number 1 ranked JV team in the country.
In the country.
Coach Hester was proud of that.
the visor is nationally recognized. Yeah. Gigi Maddox, fixed place for Page, Lady Patriots there. It was just a great weekend at the state championship for the cross-country teams. The WCS Sports Conference came away with 2 state championships and 1 runner-up.
Big time.
So that kind of put
Directors Cup.
Absolutely. It puts us back on pace last year for the record year that we had last year. Golf won 1. We didn't win in golf. We won 2 here, so that picks up the pace. So we're right there. So it's going to move us into football to see what happens. Can we repeat as 2-time state champions, 3-time state champions, or even 4 state championships this year? Now, that's a long road. A lot of games to be played between here and there. So let's talk about that in football. But before we get to football, Tucker Day was selected to the U.S. Army All-American game. Congratulations to Tucker, Brentwood High School punter, number 1 ranked punter in the country right now. Here's a crazy stat. Let's talk about this. BHS has only 12 returns all year long now off kickoffs and punts. The Bruins average 32.5 points a game. That comes out to basically 5 kickoffs, not including punts, 5 kickoffs a game, and they've only had 12.
Yeah, that's a heck of a weapon. He's going to kick it in the end zone, and obviously in high school you can't return it. That means they can't take it back for a touchdown. That takes that threat away, and then on the punts, he kicks that thing so high. I'd love to know what the returns were for. Maybe it was, they were pinned deep, and he had to kick it long. I'm not sure, but when he wants to kick that thing high and them not return it, they're not returning it.
Well, you got him and Samaglia. Samaglia at Page right now, I think, is ranked in the top 10 nationally for punters and kickers and combos, which they have 2 different categories and they have a combo category. And somehow both those 2 were left off the Mr. Football semifinalists. Not sure how that happens. It's kind of like the rating systems. But since that's we do have 2 guys that are on the semifinalist Mr. Football list. Eli Catino, Centennial, and Max Ray on Lineman of the Year. Congratulations to those 2 guys. There'll be another round of voting, and then they'll decide who the final 2 are. Now let's talk about this for just a second. I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a moment. I want you to join me on this. The Mr. Football has pretty much gone away from the fact of who the best player on the best teams are into almost a beauty pageant, if you will. I'm not in any way taken away from Eli Catino and Max Ray. I'm greatly appreciative that those guys are on the list. I know they're thankful as well. I hope they win it. But you look at the offensive side of the things is what I'm talking about. We didn't get a kid on the offensive side of the ball. Landon Guidry is the first name that comes to mind for me. But in his defense, or in their defense, the numbers that Landon Guidry puts up probably is not equivalent to those other kids. But he's on the best team. He's probably the best player on the best team. And what he brings to the games that you and I have seen are Mr. Football worthy. But he doesn't make it. But we've got some teams. Matter of fact, we've got several teams that have multiple players on their teams that are 2-8 on this. So I'm just curious on your opinion on this.
Well, I think it's a flawed process, like a lot of them are. I mean, I think that, it's really become more about who your offer is or who you're committed to. Don't want to go back to last year, but then taking nothing away from the guy who won it. But Nate Johnson should have won that trophy. He did not.
He did win it for about 10 seconds.
Yeah, right. I think
classy move.
I think he deserved it. I think that was more of who T. Higgins was committed.
He was a Tennessee. He was a Tennessee committed
at the time, 5-star, blah blah blah. That's all fine and good.
He's no longer committed.
But he did not have a better year than he did. That's right. He's not there, and he's nominated again. They're already out of the playoffs. Oak Ridge got beat last Friday night. Again, I think it's a flawed process. You got guys voting on this, and I don't know how you can vote against a guy when you haven't seen him. So you got people voting on players that they have not seen. What happens? They get in a room, they see video of them, the way I understand it, and then they kind of go from there. And I don't think it's a real good process. The number one thing I would bring to it is it's called back of the year. That doesn't mean offensive back of the year. It means back of the year. So if it's me, and maybe they did, I'm taking into context what they do on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, and the return for your back. I don't know how anybody had – no. So Landon Guidry doesn't have the most receptions. He doesn't have the most receiving yards. He doesn't have the most rushing yards. But I guarantee you if you put his total body of work together, blocking punts, sacks,
interceptions.
I don't know how he wasn't on that list. again, he's going to get to go play in kind of like we talked about with Nate last year. He's going to have a chance probably to play for a state championship, maybe win another state championship. He's going to go play Division I football in the SEC. So he's got a great career ahead of him. But I agree, there's guys on that list that I definitely would have taken him over.
Well, I mean, it's just like you said. It comes to a beauty contest. Offers, how many stars you have by your name, all of a sudden that automatically says, oh, he's got to be in there. Then you look at their team. For instance, not taking away from this kid at all. This kid looks the part. He's going to have a fantastic career. The kid for East Nashville, the back that makes the All-American. Jacob Phillips, All-American, looks the part. Fairview put 50 points up on you, 48 points up on you. So you explain to me how, I know it's just one player. I'm not taking away from him.
Yeah. Can you imagine if that kid was on Fairview's team, though?
I mean,
whoa.
But
yeah, I
don't understand this process whatsoever. I mean, where are we getting the numbers from? Is this we're coming from 7-on-7 numbers?
I think a lot of times, and it's a trickle-down effect. You see it on ESPN with the Heisman sometimes. I mean, some of these guys, I think a lot of these guys have already got their minds pretty much made up before they even get there.
Well, it's unfortunate. I am happy for these two guys. I hope they win it. It's unfortunate Tucker Day, the number one. Let me rephrase that. The number one punter in the country, not the state, the country, doesn't even make the list. So you tell me that how this process is accurate, remotely even close to being accurate. So, but we've had some success on the list. Last year we had some great success. We won 2 out of 3. Like you said, should have been 3 out of 3. No-brainer, Nate Johnson wins that thing. Tyrell Dotson, Cruz Holt. Year before, Van Jefferson does not win it. Corey Fantoni does not win it. If I'm not mistaken, Corey Fantoni right now is leading the country in punting at Missouri. So, I don't know. I give up. It's just like the top 10 when you start looking at that. What are we looking at? What are we basing upon? Do we have bias? Do we not? I mean, I don't understand.
It's not subjective.
It is very subjective, and I'm off that. So let's go and talk about what we did do last week. All 8, as you all know, got into the playoffs 7-1, Tate. We go 7-1. We have a plus 184. We outscore our opponents 311 to 127. Old Sparty is the only team that didn't make it, had a 21-point lead at halftime and just ran out of gas against a very good Cane Ridge team. But let's start right here first at Brentwood versus Memphis Kirby, where the Bruins rolled 55-28.
Well, we've talked about it all year. They are getting better. They're getting better. And I know Coach Crawford last week on the show was talking about how they finally figured out their identity offensively, and they have. And they're going to spread the ball. They're going to spread the field and spread the defense out, and they're going to let their quarterback kind of on some RPOs. If you watch Gruden's QB camp, he hates those, but it's worked well for the Bruins, and let him be an athlete. And they've got some receivers and Williamson, Christian LeBreche, and the guys that have really stepped up and been playing very well. The offensive line playing well, defense playing well. So that's the great thing. We usually feel pretty confident about when we go west. Odds are we're probably going to have a better plan going into it. And they're playing with a lot of confidence, and that carried over into the first round of the playoffs. Very happy for them because, again, 3 weeks ago we were sitting here talking about what they had to do to even get into the playoffs. They end up getting a home playoff game and played really, really well. Carson
Shacklett had a great night. I want to say he had 4 touchdown passes. And
I think one with his feet, didn't he?
And one with his feet. I think so. But right now, Brentwood is
He's playing very well, just a junior, too.
Brentwood is looking very, very strong right now early on in the playoffs. Centennial hosted Memphis Bolton. 35-12 was their score. Coach Kreisky once again has done it again. The Centennial Cougars are now sitting at 10-1 on the season.
He's made everybody look bad, including you and I.
Yes.
And we're very happy for it. But it's fun to watch this team. That score was not that close. They played some younger kids in the second half, and here's what I'm most excited about. We've talked about it before. Coach Kreisky, a former defensive back coach, he loves secondary play. Devious Chrisman last week, 3 interceptions at Henry County, 75-yard interception for a touchdown. In this one, really playing well. I believe Tony Wall took one back for a touchdown. So two interceptions for touchdowns. It was either 5 turnovers, either 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles, or 2 interceptions and 3 fumbles.
We had 2
Defense playing really, really well. Zion Lee, 3 touchdowns on really about 70 yards, 67, 68, 69 yards, and 13 carries. Run the ball, play great defense, kicking game. That's playoff football. Centennial's doing all three really well.
Well, let's get Creed to roll back the tapes. I think you agreed with me, though. This is not a discrepancy. I think you agreed with me. I think we said in about the preseason show that we had that Chrisman was going to be a difference maker at some point in time. Here it is, game 10, game 11, 4 interceptions in those 2 games combined, pick 6 in there.
Yeah.
Devious Chrisman is officially back. He's on the map. We've got schools looking at him. We've got offers coming. I know that Tennessee Tech, UT Martin, both are and Austin Peay are all on him. OVC Balls really wants him to come play. And I still think he's not finished yet. He's a 6'4" corner that looks really, really good. He's filling out his role right now. You mentioned Tony Wall had a big game, 12 tackles. Our man Clay Carter right there came in with 6 tackles. Like you said, defense is the name of the game, specifically this deep in the playoffs, or as it gets deeper in the playoffs, as it gets a little colder. You got to take care of that ball, make sure the kicking game's on.
That's right, and they're doing that. So Henry County, now this time they got to come to their place. I hate that, but I still feel really good about it. But that's tough, man, having to play these guys, twice in 3 weeks. But remember a couple years ago, Centennial played back-to-back weeks, and then,
sure did.
So, Centennial Franklin played back-to-back weeks, but playing really, really well, and hats off to them, man. They're obviously buying into what the coaches are preaching, and they're playing hard for them. It's a really neat story.
Speaking of the Rebels at Franklin hosts Germantown and beats them 38-7. The Doctor defense was there, turned the dial up, and held the Germantown team to 7 points. What do we know about that game?
Well, a game that they felt like they should win. They did win. They came out and played very well, both offensively and defensively. We talked about it. Coach Webb's known for a couple of weeks that it was going to be Germantown. That's never good for an opponent when he's got that long to game plan. And so I would say that the defense really had their number, executed it, played well. Same thing when the running game and that play action pass is playing well for Franklin, and they've got the defense playing that well. They're tough to beat. They make you on offense. They make you be so disciplined, and it's an offense that you got to be disciplined every play because you can play that. You can play that run. You can play that run. You can play that run. Get a little sloppy. Gaka gets behind you on the play action and 7 points. So fun to watch. I've loved, we see that sometimes the 2-quarterback system doesn't always work. Carter Hendry, Wes Patterson, they've made it work all year long. I think it's a weapon. Really neat to see those 2 guys get to both play, both contribute, both be leaders.
Well, Fairview came in playing East Nashville. East Nashville traveled to Fairview. A lot of people across the state, the media included, were really looking at this as an upset game just because of the fact of the athleticism of East Nashville. And let me tell you, they looked the part. However, Fairview rolls them 48-24. Coach Hughes and the Yellow Jackets moved to 11-0. Cam Harris-Lusk, what an elusive little guy he is, man. He is a competitor. But let me tell you something. Hunter Caldwell, Jake Beathard, specifically Jake Beathard, could probably play for any of the Big Six schools and contribute. Not contribute, they would be players on any team. Those two guys can play.
Oh, yeah. Athletes, they can make things happen. Get them the ball, get them in space, they can make things happen, especially Beathard. He's done that, and the thing that I think maybe they really don't know much about him when the guys that picked against them. I think one thing that's getting overlooked on Fairview is how good they are on defense. They're a good defensive football team. Their offensive line, at least 3 or 4 of them are seniors. They're big, especially for a 3A school, and Husk is now, he's not a sophomore anymore. No. He's 10, 11 games in. He brings them a different dimension, and Coach Hughes has done a good job with bringing him along. Didn't put too much on him early, and just really, really playing well. But that's the thing that I think's flying under the radar is how good they are defensively.
Well, they're also putting up 35-plus points
right.
a game, too, as well. As a matter of fact, I want to say they've scored 40 in the last 7 or 8 games. I have to go back and look at that. But their offense is putting the ball in. Their defense is holding those teams. They had to move some pieces around the other night. He didn't like what he was seeing on the secondary. East Nashville got a few points, got a little thing, kind of got some mojo going for him. So Cam Harris-Lusk was called in for duty in the secondary. And I was thinking, guys, don't get him hurt. But he held his own. He did good. And it's really interesting to see how far can the Fairview Yellow Jackets go?
Well, I think they can make it to Cookville. Now there's some tough games ahead of them.
Man, they probably have arguably the toughest road of any of our teams right now that we have.
Well, this weekend's going to be tough. The one after that's going to be tough. It's funny if you can. It's kind of like soccer or volleyball in the Big Six here. If you can just make it out of your district, if they can make it through the quarterfinals, the semifinals, I think will be one of the easiest games they have in the playoffs. Now, when you get to Cookeville, that's a different story. But hey, you're there.
Staring Alcoa in the face.
Yeah. So who's got one loss, and that's the Maryville.
Right.
But so yeah, I think they can make it all the way to Cookeville.
Independence gets their 26 in a row over Gallatin. Jordan Mason did not play in this game. I went to this game first half hoping to see the talented rusher for Gallatin because he's got over, 2,000 plus yards rushing. Unfortunate for him. He did not play. This game was over pretty well, I say pretty quick. It took a minute for them to get warmed up, and when they did, Tate, it was the classic old Independence Eagles.
Yeah. Well, they're clicking at the right time. That's not a surprise to anybody. The defense has really, it's kind of been a tale of, I don't know if it's a flip from last year because the defense played really well last year too, but the defense kind of led them through the beginning of the year while this offense keeps getting better. We talked about it. I really feel like Hines is playing at a very, very high level right now. Again, he's 11 games in to being the starting quarterback. The two young pups on the outside, Sheffield and Scurry, are sophomores. They're not sophomores anymore. We've got a ton of athletic ability. You just got 4 or 5 guys, just like last year, that can take the ball and make things happen with it, and they're starting to do that. And so, I know Jordan Mason wasn't there. Would he have made a difference? Yes. Would he have made that big of a difference? No. And to hold Gallatin to 0 points, that's a big, big deal. Defense playing really well.
You spoke of Hines, 13 of 25, 270 yards, 3 touchdowns. Rushing, Landon Guidry, 7 carries, 26 yards, 1 touchdown. Sheffield, 5 carries, 38 yards, 1 touchdown. Troy Henderson also was injury reserve, dressed and ready. Jordan Mason was not for Gallatin. Troy was a little dinged up from the previous game. Did not have to touch the field. Thank goodness didn't have to.
That's right.
Get himself back to 100%. And you're sitting there, you beat him without him 35-0. I mean, people don't understand. That's just nuts to think that you have your starting running back that has close to 1,000 yards on the year, doesn't even touch the field, and you still win 35-0. Receiving, you talk about Scurry, the young pup. Scurry, 4 catches, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. And Sheffield, 4 catches, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. Guidry, 3 for 69 and a touchdown. See, and his numbers doesn't stack up to the rest, but once you start looking at what he did rushing-wise, once you start looking at what he does receiving, and what that intangible of behind the scenes, in the locker room, in the huddles, probably what he brings to the table is you can't put a price tag on. But they are clicking at the right time. And they have a tall task this week. It could be interesting. We'll talk about that in just a second. Number 26, 35-0 over Gallatin. Brighton, Ravenwood had to travel to Memphis. Brighton ended up winning 45-14.
2 weeks in a row, the running game has been A+. Carter Nelson, huge game. 4 rushing touchdowns? I believe it was either 3 or 4.
That's right.
And, everybody knows about the passing game. If they want to take that away, then they're going to make you beat them with the running game. When they run like that, they will. We've said it. I don't think Ravenwood's done in the playoffs. I think they can make a little run here. Kind of like Wilson Central.
I agree with you 100%. Cane Ridge Summit, man. Old Sparty goes to Cane Ridge. Heartbreaker. Up 21-0 at half. Run out of gas. Gets beat 35-21. Our hats off to Coach Coleman and the old Sparties. I just tell you, what a year they've had. 7-4. They finished 7-4, most wins in school history, first playoff, and had an opportunity to beat a number 1 seed.
Well, I know their goal was to win the game. I think hats off to them to even be up 21-0. I think Cane Ridge is one of the best teams in the mid-state, if not the state. I hate that the way the tiebreaker was in that region. I think that's ridiculous. This Summit was the number 4 seed. It is what it is. They went and they showed up. They had a great game plan. They played well. They knew what it was. They knew what they had to do to win. They did it. They just, in the second half, they got tired, and that speed, I'm telling you now, that's the fastest team, including Independence. That's the fastest team they've seen all year. Coach Woods does a good job. Had a chance. That's all you can ask. I would say that they left it all on the field. Just got beat by a better team. That's all you can say.
Well, Ty Carter finishes with 1,376 yards.
Great year.
Dalton Fisher finishes 898. I mean, he's only 102 shy of getting to 1,000 himself. So
I saw where Coach Coleman told the seniors after the game, this program, you're leaving this program leaps and bounds better off than where you found it. I agree 100%.
Real quick, Chattanooga Central, Page hosted that game. First round action, 34-7. Page wins.
Thought it was a game they would win, thought it was a game they should win. Came out and took care of business. The offense played really well. Obviously, the defense did too.
All right, not to cut them short, but we're running short on time. Let's talk real quick. Round 2 of playoffs. In the playoff picture right now, we're looking at Fairview round 1, hosting Goodpasture 8-2. What do you think?
Goodpasture's much better. The defense has got their work cut out for them this week. Goodpasture will run everything from no backs to smokestack with 2 tight ends and 3 backs in the backfield to an unbalanced smokestack type offense. So you got to be prepared. They got an explosive player in Jermaine Mason, so they'll have to play well on defense, but I think they will struggle with Fairview's offense as well. But this could be a good game.
Fairview's coming in. Goodpasture's coming in. They beat Harpeth in the opening round, 36-20. Right now, make your pick.
Oh, Fairview.
Without even hesitation?
Yeah. Hey, we don't have time, but what did I tell you was going to happen last Friday with Fairview?
All right. I've already made my promise. I'm going inside the velvet ropes of Snappy's Pizza this Friday night after the big win. Fairview rolls over Goodpasture. Page, round 2 versus Spring Hill. Spring Hill beat Stoneman Memorial 28-6. Played in week 3. Page won 26-25. Go.
I think Page wins, but obviously the Spring Hill game was tight last time. They're healthy again. They're playing well. Page is playing well. They win this game, but not by a lot.
Patriots win. They win more than they won the first go round. Got a little bit going. It will be a tough test. Spring Hill's got a little confidence, playing better. Independence versus Hillsboro. This is tough. We don't have a lot of time to talk about it. 27 or not?
27 in a row, yes, but hard-fought game.
Hard-fought game. Close. Come down to the wire.
No, but this is not a 14, 17, 20-point victory.
I don't disagree.
It's 10 points or less.
If you remember this time last year, they only won by
I believe it was 28-20.
I think you're correct, and I think it'll be a duplicate of that, but we'll take it any way we can get it. Independence win. Centennial, Henry County, round 2. They beat Brighton 41-40.
Centennial takes care of business. Same thing as always. Running game. Defense.
It makes a coach nervous when you have to play a team more than once. Centennial does win that. Brentwood at Memphis Central. They beat Rossview 47-24. This is a tough one for the Bruins.
Memphis Central's only got one loss. That's to MUS. They're a good football team. I'm going to go with Brentwood.
Can't go against them, baby.
Jeez, they're going to have to play well.
Ravenwood Mount Juliet.
I think they beat them for the second time in a row. I really do.
Oh, that's going to make some people mad, especially
the Mount Juliet people are going to be
Let's
really
go Ravenwood. G2 bar over there. Franklin White Station.
Dr. Defense.
You're telling me that we're going to go 7-0 in the round 2 of the play. 7-0. We'll see how we did next week. Make sure you join us. This has been WCS Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.
I found it in an old bookstore, the one on Ellis Street. You know it.
The sparrow made her nest in my Boston fern, and it was no longer mine but hers.
I walk past a large, clean shop window, catch my reflection, and stop.
It's black when we start. You, 30 minutes up and breakfast in your stomach, and me, 10 minutes from warm bed.
Thank you for watching Poets from the Neighborhood. We hope you'll join us again soon.